All right, folks. Travis Brown, Horror Movies Uncut, Submissions and Slashers podcast, and I am here talking with Pirie Martin, who is the director of Psychosis. It's always how it is. You practice the name 50 million times before you try it, and then sure enough, the minute it's time to go, you always stumble over the name. But Pirie, how's it going, sir? Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're so excited to talk to you about Psychosis, and we're very excited because we know we got a wonderful little Popcorn Frights Film Festival coming up this weekend where your film's going to be shown in front of some people. So we're very, very excited to see your thoughts and hear what you have to say about what's going on with everything involving psychosis in your film. So first and foremost, the thing I always like to ask people is, how are you? How are you doing? How's your week been going? How excited are you for this upcoming week with your film?
It's been a very chaotic couple of days, a couple of weeks to be honest. I'm kind of losing track of how long everything's been going on, but I'm very excited. I'm really keen. I've been working on this film for quite a long time. It's been quite a few years, and we also had COVID delays and everything like that. So I'm just really keen for everyone to finally see it.
Yep.
I've not been talking too much about it. Like I haven't been putting a lot online about it because I knew that it would be a long process. So it's been really great, kind of just springing it on everyone, just saying, "Oh, by the way, I made a whole feature film. Here it is," and having everyone kind of get really excited.
Is this
So
including
yeah, and
like friends and family? Did you leave friends and family
I
in the
mean,
dark on this
friends and
too?
family
I
have
mean, because
known
I'm sure
about it.
somebody
Yeah,
was helping you pay for this movie, and I'm sure they were like, "Well, what are we giving money to? If you could please tell us what we're giving money
where
to."
did you take all that money 5 years
Yeah.
ago? Yeah. No, I mean they did know, but again, it's such a bizarre film. They knew that I was doing it, but nobody really knew what it was going to be, which was also very
Okay.
nice. Like even the people who had read the script, when I showed them a test screening, they were like, "Oh, okay, right, that's really interesting." Um, so yeah, I'm very excited to spring it on a completely unsuspecting audience, and just see what everyone says, and to let the actors kind of show themselves off. I'm really keen for everyone to see Darren's
For
work,
sure. For sure.
and all
Yeah,
the other casting crew.
he's fantastic in the film, and we'll talk about him a little bit further into the process here. But okay, so one of the things with a film like this, one of the questions that I have to ask you is one of my favorite ways to ask the question. If somebody was just to walk up to you on the street and you only had about, you know, maybe 3 to 4 sentences to say what your film is
Mhm.
about, how would you describe your movie?
Right. Well, a criminal fixer who experiences auditory hallucinations faces
Mm-hmm.
off against a sadistic hypnotist who uses mind control to kill and control all of his opponents. Would be the best I can do.
And then all of a sudden you just see people's heads just explode, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
It's just like scanners. It's great. And honestly, it's I think one of the best things that people are going to really enjoy about this is the fact that you guys make this an experience, and that's
Mm.
something that I think filmmakers are trying to really get back into. When I wrote the review for the film, one of the things that I kept just like going over and over and over again was the fact that it's just like you are really set inside of Cliff and what he's experiencing from like the moment the film starts. So the first thing, like,
Mm.
okay, like I'm not familiar with this, and maybe this is just me being a complete Midwestern American, but what in the hell is a criminal fixer? Is that like a Ray Donovan?
Oh,
Is that like a Ray Donovan
yeah.
type character? Like, what is a criminal fixer?
It's I've kind of based him a little bit off of the Wolf from Pulp Fiction. So Harvey Keitel's
Okay,
character in Pulp
okay,
Fiction, who gets
I
called
got
up
you
and they're like, "We've
for sure. The
we've killed
cleaner,
these guys. We don't know
yes,
what to do." Yeah,
I got
and
you.
he just
Yeah,
kind of advises them, and he knows how the police work. He knows how all of the different organizations work, and he can kind of get stuff done.
perfect,
And then on
perfect.
top of that, I've added that he has this kind of strange condition, which is loosely based on a lot of different types of auditory hallucination, which gives him a bit more. He's kind of connected more with his subconscious and his kind of raw senses. So like he'll pick things up that other people might miss because his ears are kind of talking to him, I guess, or
For
his
sure.
subconscious is sort of saying, "We've detected this. You may not be aware of it. Keep in mind." So he's kind of got this weird multi layered toolkit that he can use, and being kind of the criminal side of things, it could have been a detective story very easily, but I found it a little bit more interesting
Hmm.
having him really down in the mud with all the other criminal characters, and it made it a lot more kind of being a horror thriller. It made it a lot more fun, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful chaos that's like involved in the film. But I'm curious to like, so when you talk about the film being set over a long process, like it took a while for this film to be created, it makes me wonder during these steps, like, did you have to like separate yourself at times for other things to stay focused on this project while the rest of the world was going on so that you can constantly keep coming back to it? Or was there something
Mm.
that was continuously going on? Were you constantly writing? Were you constantly just updating? I mean, there's so many levels and layers, and I'm laughing when I say levels and layers because it is a lot of levels and layers going on in this film. What type,
Mm.
like, how does that process work out for you to know that I gotta get this film done, but it's been
Mm.
stretched over such a long
Yeah,
time? Because I know there's got to be some moments where you were probably like, "Is it never gonna get done?" And then there were probably
yeah,
moments where it's like, "Yay, a ray of sunshine." So explain to me a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit about that process and how it got from like point
yeah.
A to a very long point B, C, and to where we are now.
Mm. Well, I mean, there was obviously the COVID situation drew things out. That was kind of getting more into the post-production end, and
Okay.
also kind of delaying. I didn't really want to be putting the film out into the world in the middle of a pandemic if nobody was going to be able to see it. But prior to that, the film was kind of stilted for a couple of reasons. Like we had a few people who had major injuries. One of our cast rides a motorbike, and
Oh,
he just shattered his leg one day. It took him 8 months to recover, and all of his scenes from then on required him to be able to run. So we
oh
had to
my
give him
God.
time to
Of
recover
course.
from that.
Oh God.
We had a lot of location, a
Where's
lot of
Tom
location.
Cruise when you need him, right? Tom Cruise would just be running
Yeah, exactly.
for
Someone
two
who
hours if
won't
he was in
who
there.
won't die. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But yeah, lots of there were location issues with some locations that we lined up in pre-production that then turned into a massive construction site. Like the government just built a new highway right through some of our locations while we were shooting, and that caused a lot of problems. But everyone was like, we had like the electrician on the construction site because water had gotten into all the electrics and cut the power. Like at 1 in the morning, the electrician from the government construction site just turned up to fix our electricity so that we could keep shooting, which was like everyone was really, really supportive. But the process just kind of kept growing and snowballing. And once you kind of at that point, it's like, well, I need to let the actors, they can't just take time off work because
For sure.
this is just getting kind of stretched out. So,
Yeah.
they were going back. I wasn't forcing them to uh, like dedicate a really tight shooting schedule. And that once you make that decision, it's like, all right, well, we'll go down the route of doing the long form. We'll shoot it when we get the chance and keep it all together, which made it a little bit easier for me because I was wearing a lot of different hats on the film. And it allowed me a little bit more time to plan ahead,
Hmm.
make sure that I knew exactly what was going in so that when I'm on set, I'm just directing. I'm not worrying about whether or not actors are going to turn up or whether or not we've got electricity or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was all sorted. Then we shoot, and then we regroup and shoot again, kind of a little
So
bit after. Yeah.
I
So
know you have to give I know you got to give love to somebody who was like your right hand person throughout this whole entire time because there's always got to be somebody that you had to lean on during that process too. So is it a lot of people or was it anybody in
I'm not gonna single. I'm gonna. Everyone was really great. There was
everybody?
no one
Yeah,
person who was the main helper. Like it was, you get everyone together, everyone turns up, everyone was keen.
that's great.
Sometimes with these really long process, like people like our lead actress Kate, she has a lot of tattoos and she has her hair dyed, and she would have loved to have gotten a few more tattoos and to change her hair once in a while, and she had to stay the same for a long
Yeah,
time. But she was really great about it. Darren was incredible the whole time. He was always really keen. No matter, I'm like, Darren, do you want to do this? Coming up, and
yeah.
he's like, yes, I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that
Everyone says,
everybody seemed like they were very, very involved in the project. Even you can
mm,
get that sense from watching the film that there was a lot of
yep,
just like almost like joy of being. And I think one of the best things about your movie is this look that brings this noir, like classic old thriller. It actually takes you back to some of those like late 50s kind of like Orama movies that would always kind
mm,
of involve some craziness just going on out of the brink of nowhere. So I think people who come up in that day and age would totally get a kick out of everything that's being displayed in the movie. So I think you're really going to find a good audience when it comes to that, especially in regards to like the late night crowd when they see this. I'm
yeah,
curious before I let you go, and this has been great, man. I really appreciate your time, and I'm not going to take too much more of it. I'm always asking filmmakers what is something that they would love for people to take away after watching their film, especially at this
yeah,
wonderful film festival going on this weekend. People get a chance to see your movie.
wow.
What would you love for them to take as they are walking out of the theater after seeing this movie?
Um, yeah, thank you for asking that. That's good because that is something that I would. It's not explicit in the film, but a lot of the film is kind of inspired by perception and
Mm-hmm.
altered perception and a few of the different ways that our brain works,
Mm-hmm.
or might say doesn't work quite the way we expect.
Yeah,
Um, and
that's
a lot of the film is kind of a way of giving people a bit of an experience, like what is it like to live with auditory hallucinations, or at least a form of auditory hallucinations, because it's different for everyone. But just giving the audience a bit of an idea without making it about how hard it must be or
mm-hmm.
how kind of terrible this is. Like I wanted to present Cliff's character as someone who's got this condition and you can kind of empathize with him. Like the moment the voices start, you kind of do get a sense of who he is just by the way that they talk to him, like the
Yep,
insecurities that he
yep,
might have,
yep.
but also the fact that the voices aren't just negative. They're not always there telling him to kill himself or,
Mm-hmm.
burn the building down or something like that, which is really kind of negative stereotypes that films sometimes like to lean on for dramatic
Yeah,
effect. I wanted to
for
go in the
sure.
other direction and say, well, what if it's actually not necessarily something like great, because he's obviously quite troubled by it, but he can manage with it. Like he's living fine with it. And he's made it useful. He's found a way to incorporate it, which I think is something very important around discussions of mental health and a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
especially things that are quite overt, like having an auditory hallucination or an impairment of some kind. That they're not the big negative horrible thing that's going to cost you your job and your life. And sometimes you can get along perfectly fine, and a lot of people do. Like obviously, everyone gets by.
Yeah,
So that's something that I want people to take away to kind of just get a bit more of an understanding, maybe get people to go and research it a bit more because the film's not really
yeah.
educational. It's got a lot of stuff in it that is made up. But to get people excited, because I find it all incredibly fascinating. I had a
Yeah.
great time researching a lot of the stuff. And hopefully people kind of see the world a bit differently, leaving the cinema
Mm-hmm.
and go and learn a little bit more. Yeah.
I love that you say learn a little bit more because even as a person in my other world that I live in, which is the health and wellness world, one of the things that
Okay. Yeah.
is very, very common and popular now in like massage therapy and stuff like that is like
Mhm.
ASMR techniques where they're using a lot of
Yeah.
these same type of, you know, nuances to give people certain stimulations or to cause people to relax or to
Mhm.
cause people to actually feel a certain way. And honestly, when people
Yeah.
see Psychosis, man, they are gonna for sure feel a certain way after they get finished
The,
seeing
the
it.
the
So
torture scene was based on ASMR. I wanted to do an ASMR
I
torture scene. So
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, like, yeah, you really definitely jumped in the swimming pool with that for sure. Because as a person who's researched that myself, like I was feeling that vibe almost from start to finish with the film. So, good job with that, my friend. But I'm looking forward to
Thank
seeing
you
the
very much.
people's reaction. I can't wait for you to get to see
Yeah.
everyone's reaction. Good luck with the release of the film. Good luck with the screening and everything to come with the film. I know I'll be hearing a lot more news about it in the next couple weeks. And then, yeah, our review will be popping up shortly after the film premieres. So we look forward to you hearing our thoughts on it. But we enjoyed the film, and we can't wait to hear more stuff coming from you guys. Okay.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it as well. Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that. So yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, Pirie, thank you so much for your time, sir. It was awesome having you on to talk about Psychosis. We look forward to hearing anything you got coming in the near future. So please make sure to keep us in mind on any of the next projects you might have coming up, okay?
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, no problem, man.